Hello everyone, this is David from Automotive Press. I have a 2022 Lexus UX here, which holds a unique position within the Lexus as the smallest crossover. It is surprisingly fun to drive, and more importantly, it has some unique things about it that you should know. For example, it is based on the TNGA C platform, which is the very first TNGA architecture introduced by Toyota and Lexus. So let me tell you 5 things I like about this Lexus UX and 5 things I'm not too crazy about. So as an automotive engineer, this is what I used to do quite a bit. I just use simple tools to check for body gaps and body alignment on this UX. You should keep in mind that the UX is built in the Fukuoka factory in Japan, which is way in the southern part of Japan. I've been to that factory a number of times. It's one of the best factories within the Toyota family, and you can really tell the difference between this Lexus UX and something else that might be built in, let's say, North American factories. For example, the gaps on this UX is shockingly good. I can barely fit this tool into the gap here because it's so well done. It's about 3 to 3.5 millimeter between the hood and the front fender. Normally it's 4 to 5, sometimes even 6 millimeter. It's one of the best I've seen. It's a perfect alignment, very consistent front to back. And between the front fender and the door, it's also exceptional. It's about 3.8 millimeter, world class. There's not too many cars that can do this well in terms of the panel alignment. And same thing over here. I measured that a little bit earlier with a caliper. And it's about 3.5 millimeter here, and also about 3.8 millimeter here. So all the way through from the front to back, the body alignment, if I kind of sit like this and try to look for any kind of misalignment, you know what? This is better than a $300,000 car you might find that's being hand-built. So I was very impressed with the body panel and alignment. Let's see what the paint job is like. So I used this tool to measure the thickness of the paint, and you want the thickness to be between 100 to 180 micron. Thicker the better, usually, so let's take a look. It's 180 micron, which is actually quite a bit thicker than normal Toyota and Lexus models. 176 on the front fender, 167. So typically, Toyota cars are between 110 to about 125 in most cases, but this Lexus UX are averaging 165 to about 180 to 185 all the way around. So it's about 20-25% thicker than your typical Toyota. So obviously they decided to put a little bit more paint onto this vehicle than other Toyota models or even Lexus models, which is a good thing because the thicker the paint, obviously you get a little bit more protection, and usually the depth of the paint is also better. And even though this is a red paint, which is sometimes difficult to assess, it has a tremendous amount of gloss, absolutely no pigmentation, very little orange peel, and all the way from front to back when I look at it, you probably cannot get better than this. This is as good as a 6-figure Lexus LX. The paint job is fantastic, and it should be because the Fukuoka factory is one of the best factories within the Toyota lineup, and I'm not surprised how good the paint quality is, as well as the body alignments. So this is a benchmark. You cannot get much better than this. Even though it's a small, affordable Lexus, you get a top-notch, world-class quality as far as exterior is concerned. Now let's take a look at the inside and do a quick audit as well. Okay, so I'm now inside the Lexus UX to check for the interior quality. And what I do is I do my usual punch test and just kind of punch away at different components to see if I can kind of simulate a rattle or squeak. And you know what? Like I said before, this thing is built in Fukuoka factory, one of the best factories in the world. It's absolutely bulletproof. It's completely solid. I can't rattle or squeak anything out of these panels here. And even when I'm driving, The whole thing is quiet and very solid. All the stitching is perfectly aligned. There's not a single defect I could find anywhere. So in terms of the interior quality, I again give a top mark. So if I have to rate the exterior and interior quality, I'm going to give A+ for both, which is super rare. Even for Lexus, I'm actually pretty picky about checking for quality and defects. But if I ever have to explain to someone which of the cars in the world is the benchmark when it comes to manufacturing quality, this is definitely one of them. Now that I've finished the auditing of the quality for the exterior and interior, let me get into more details. I'm going to talk about 5 things I really do like about the Lexus UX and 5 things I'm not too crazy about. The first things I do like about the UX is very much related to what I just did, which is the overall quality. Built in Japan, built in Fukuoka factory, first-class manufacturing quality, exterior and interior. This thing is solid. So more than any other positive point I'm going to bring up, that is the most important one. This thing is built like a tank. I think it's going to be very reliable over the years, and it is absolutely solid. The second thing I like about the Lexus UX is the value. It is the cheapest and most affordable Lexus within the lineup, starting at mid $30,000 for US pricing and low $40,000 for Canadian pricing. It's surprisingly good value. It has a lot of standard features, and even if you add up all of the other options, including the F Sport package on this one, the pricing is surprisingly good. And because of the way it drives, you might be fooled into thinking that this thing costs a lot more than it is. But the pricing is very, very affordable, and that's what I like about the new UX. The next positive thing is the fact that this is a lot more fun to drive than I expected. It's agile, it handles well, it corners well, and even though it's not super fast, it accelerates quite well. And I'm actually enjoying driving it day to day. Since I've had it for almost a week now. And it's just the right size, as I mentioned before, and it has a good overall feel. So I'm happy with the steering effort. I'm happy with the handling. Again, it's not a sports sedan by any means, but it drives surprisingly good. Another very positive point, and important one, is the fuel efficiency. This car gets 41 miles per gallon in city, 38 on highway for combined miles per gallon of 39. So it's very efficient thanks to the proven hybrid mechanism, and therefore you don't have to worry too much about gas, the cost on this one. It's as efficient as some of the smaller cars that you find out there, such as a Prius. So you get all of the luxury features and surprisingly good handling, all packaged under a Lexus brand name, but still getting a very good fuel efficiency. So I'm really happy about that, along with the driving effort and driving feel. This thing is actually good value. The fifth thing I like about the Lexus UX is the fact it is just the right size. I know that this is kind of a small for some people, especially in the back, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But for me, driving in the busy traffic here in the west coast of Vancouver, it's just the right size. It can fit into tight parking space, no issue going down the underground parking. And for many of us who are usually driving by ourselves without too many passengers, this is an ideal commuter and a city car. So I just talked about 5 things I like about the Lexus UX. What about 5 things I don't like or I'm not too crazy about the Lexus UX? Well, on top of my list is the fact that there's no touch screen or touch panel. So even if I reach out like this, I can't navigate through the infotainment system. I have to use this Lexus touchpad, which none of us really like. You do get used to it after a while, and so it's kind of manageable, but it's still very awkward. And this is one thing that they have to change. Now, likely they're not going to be able to make that change until the next model shows up, because it's going to be difficult to move this screen forward and make all that changes. So you have to learn to live with it for now, and obviously I'm not too crazy about that. The second negative point about the UX is related to the first one, which is the fact that this still has the older Lexus infotainment software. It's kind of awkward to navigate. It's not easy to figure things out, which is a kind of added complication on top of the hardware issue. Even though the new Lexus NX that just came out have the new software, this one doesn't get that yet. So I think that's one of the issue with this. Also the fact that all the volume and the audio controls are right here in the center console, which you do get used to again, but the overall software implementation is just kind of weak and definitely quite awkward until you get used to it. And even then, I don't think it's very good. The third thing I'm not too crazy about in the UX is to do with the interior space. Even though the exterior dimension is just the right size for me because it's easy to park and so forth, it also means that the interior volume is compromised. I'm okay here in the front because I'm not super tall and it's quite comfortable actually in terms of the seat comfort, but in the back is very tight. It's almost like a 2+2 as opposed to a 4-door hatchback or crossover, and so you definitely don't want to carry your family for a long distance on this vehicle because it's just not very comfortable in the back, and even the trunk is very compromised. It's got a high sill and not a very usable and practical rear cargo space. So those are compromises I'm not too crazy about. The fourth point is somewhat subjective and perhaps even personal, and that is to do with the design of the Lexus UX. I think it's kind of cute and funky, and I don't mind it, but some people say it looks busy, it's awkward, it's not clean, and looks a little bit outdated. So I do have to admit, compared to some of the newer models that are coming out from other competitors, it does look kind of strange. And especially with this F-Sport package, it's a bit awkward with all of the cladding. So it's not a clean design, and it's a kind of a cute design, I still think, but perhaps it's not for everyone. So perhaps the design isn't its strength, and even the interior is a little bit busy to my taste as well. So that's the fourth point I wanted to make. The fifth and the last negative point I want to bring up is the fact that the resale value of the Lexus UX might not be as good as its larger models such as the Lexus NX or even the RX. Those cars are selling like hotcakes right now, and therefore there's lots of demand for that, but the UX isn't selling too well. And because of that, and perhaps because it's also somewhat awkward in terms of design and the space utilization, it just won't do as well in the marketplace. So it might not matter to you if you're going to keep this car for a long time or if you're leasing it, but if you are the type of person who keep it for a short time and you want to resell it quickly, this might not be the best vehicle to buy, and you might want to move up to the Lexus NX or even the RX, which will definitely have a better resale value. So in conclusion, what can I say about the Lexus UX 250h? I think this is a hidden gem within the Lexus lineup. It's a good value, it drives well, it has good fuel efficiency, and all for a reasonable price built inside this compact exterior size. And therefore, it's easy to maneuver and drive around town, easy to park. For someone like myself, this is an ideal daily driver. So a lot of people might overlook this because it's an older design and not as attractive as a larger NX. But don't forget, if you don't need anything bigger, this might just fit your bill. So I think the UX is a great value and actually surprisingly good car to consider if you're looking for a hybrid car with a good fuel efficiency and something you can drive around town for fun. So that's all I have for now, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I'm signing off for now.